What are the energetic impacts of trauma, and are there any benefits to it? Hi, my name is Nancy Rebecca. I'm a registered nurse, but I'm also a clairvoyant psychic healer. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, if you're returning, thanks so much for your constant support. So today, as a registered nurse, I really want to talk about how trauma impacts your human energy field. And it is of my belief that it is resolvable. Now, I'm not saying it's easily resolvable, but I do really feel that anyone who lives with trauma in their energy field, post-traumatic stress syndrome, that there are ways that you can really shift things into a life that's not just about surviving, but also about thriving. So I've made some notes here I'm going to take a look at. But the very first place that I wanted to start is, what is trauma? Well, I will say trauma is a word that's used a lot lately. And I've worked with over 30,000 individuals reading the human energy field. And it's really fascinating because I've been able to observe and work with those who have extreme traumatic events. And then I've worked with others who have had events that happen that view them and define them as quite traumatic. And it's interesting how differently it can look in the human energy field. And you would think that the one with extreme trauma, their energy field would look worse, and the ones that interpret extreme trauma, even though it may have been that my parents ignored me growing up, or my parents worked a lot, so can view that as trauma, it can still look really different in the energy field. So, what is trauma defined by the dictionary? It is a lasting emotional response that often results from living through a distressing event. So this is how trauma is defined. This can harm the person's sense of safety, their sense of self, and ability to regulate their own emotions. So I want to just mention, oh gosh, I put it on my phone. I should have taken it off my phone. So there's a particular book. I do want to mention this right here, right out the chute. So this book was written, what did I say, 45 years ago, and it is still very high on my list as a must read for anyone who may have experienced childhood trauma, childhood abuse. So Alice Miller, she was a psychoanalyst. She wrote the book, The Drama of the Gifted Child. She was a psychoanalyst, she was a Freudian analyst, but she's the one that actually brought child abuse to the forefront as something to talk about, as something to maybe explain some adult type behaviors because of what they experienced in childhood. So that's what she's known for. She's the one that really started this movement. She died at the age of 87. And was an influential, controversial figure in psychoanalysis. And so she helped children who were unable to express their true feelings, growing up unhappy and depressed, out of touch with the reality of themselves. So in that book, it's a little tiny paperback book, very easy to read in one day. But when she talks about the drama of the gifted child, there are benefits, there are gifts that come out of that. Now, for me, I teach intuitive and I teach psychic development. And it is one of my beliefs that those who have experienced hardship, harsh events in childhood can make some of the best psychics and best intuitives. So why do I kind of make that claim and say that I believe in that? Well, it's because at a very young age, you had to highly develop your psychic skill, intuitive skills to read your environment, especially when the environment may not totally match up with what is being said or what is being described. And it's like, you can feel there's anger, but then your mom might say, well, I'm not angry. What makes you think I'm angry? And so you get those miscommunications. However, you get really good at reading those environments. There's an example I always give, like I had one student who said every time her father was going to go pay the bills every Sunday, all the kids knew they better scatter and they need to stay out of the way, because he would get so angry at having to pay the bills and balance the checkbook and things like that. And so he would become so enraged that it could spill over and finding things wrong with the kids, maybe causing a spanking or name calling. And so when we talk about that as children, what she described to me was she got really good at reading her environment. Like if she could feel the energy building in the house, she knew when to exit stage left and to stay gone until the energy calmed down again. So that's why I say you become really good psychic readers and intuitives. But here's the issue. If you have learned to use your psychic skill to survive as a pure survival coping mechanism because of trauma, PTSD, what can happen is that you're always using your intuitive abilities to search for trouble, seek out things that might cause fear, seek out things that may be place you in danger or place your family in danger. So what can happen there is you're only looking for danger. You're using your high sensory ability to find danger. So then when you come into one of my development classes, you need to grow and make that shift of letting go of looking for danger and looking for the positive things in life. So it's like not just using your skill and ability to learn how to survive, but using them to know how to thrive. And so that can be one of the benefits of those of you who have experienced trauma in your energetic trauma in your past, or physical, emotional, mental trauma, that it can really serve you in those heightened abilities, so that when you grow into adulthood and the workplace, you are really good at reading your environment. You can make great leaders, you can make great bosses, you can really tell when someone's off because you were so acutely aware of reading your family environment growing up. So, what does trauma look like in the energy field? Well, often what I find is whatever age maybe the abuse that happened or a traumatic event happened, that your energy field is going to be stuck at that age of the event. All right, so let's say when you were young and your parents were in a car accident, maybe you lost one or both parents, it was quite traumatic. Maybe your parents had a long recovery, and so it may have lasted over years. That let's say that happened when you were 3 years old. Well, the instant anything like that, maybe it's a car tires squealing, maybe it's hearing a woman scream, maybe it was that really ultra quiet after the car stopped spinning out of control. Like those things can trigger you to go immediately back to that age. So in this example, I'm talking about the age of 3 years old. So for those of you who are experiencing trauma, or for those of you who want to understand maybe a partner or a friend that has trauma, that they can get stuck in that age. So the energy field can look wet, mucus of old emotions that coats everything in the human energy field. So it's kind of like, it's just this slimy, sticky, heavy, wet energy. It can completely cover all the cells in your body. It can coat your lungs, your heart, your nervous system. Like everything is coated with this kind of mucousy, wet energy. When those damp, emotionally laden cells are quiet and in a non-triggered state, you may feel heavily depressed or stuck in fear and terror. So Terror is a little different than fear. Terror is actually supercharged at a much higher level than just simple fear. So you feel unable to even think about making a move in life for fear that it will trigger the electrical charge of the wet mucus. So this wet, old, outdated mucus, what it reminds me of is kind of like a jellyfish. So you know how we'll hear like, don't touch that, the tentacles of the jellyfish are going to get shocked. That's exactly what it looks like in the trauma in the energy field. And so that electrical charge activates the entire nervous system to be on high alert. So 1 minute you can be fine, and then you can be watching a television show, something gets triggered. I was caught in a landslide. I was almost buried alive in my home at 2 o'clock in the morning. I lived near the water, and our cabin was shoved 6 feet forward. It was my worst nightmare where I thought the whole cabin was going to go into the ocean. But I survived. I got out. But every time I heard a truck rumbling down the road, that rumbling mimicked the sound of the earth just dropping on top of the house. And so it didn't take much every time I heard a truck. And I will tell you, I know how to do this. I know how to shift energy. And it still took me 8 months to finally get it shifted. To go back to the cabin, I would get so triggered to where my nervous system was on high alert. I'm embarrassed to say it took me 5 or 6 years to even let someone convince me to go back down to the place where it happened. So I get it. I get it, is what I want to say. So when that electrical charge activates, like me, it's a truck rumbling by, activates the entire nervous system. I was then on high alert. I felt like I needed to run. It is next to impossible to calm this state when you are energetically highly triggered with PTSD. So impossible to calm this state once activated. Therefore, those who live with severe PTSD avoid thriving at all cost. So you avoid going out of the house. Now, I'm talking about extreme states here. You will avoid going out of the house. You want to keep yourself, your environment small and safe. So we talk a lot about like agoraphobia and things like that, because you're trying to prevent getting triggered. Because if you get triggered, it's like it's going to take you maybe days or weeks to get your entire triggered nervous system to calm down again. So the system shifts into the age of the event as it is actually happening right now. So again, we talk about the car accident happened when you were 3 years old. So now that gets triggered, and what happens is that age gets flipped. Now let's say you're 50 years old. Now you energetically, you only have access to the first 3 years of your life. Energetically, your entire energy field flips back to that age. Or if you had an event that happened when you were 11, or like in the military, you're in your 20s and you had an event where, a bomb went off, or gunfire was happening, when you were at war. It's going to get triggered back to that age. And we know this with a lot of people that were in the Vietnam War, that was 40 years ago, that it can just, fireworks that go off can trigger back to that age. But this is the thing about it, is when you're triggered back to that age, so let's say you were in Vietnam and you were 22 years old, it's like you can only see the jungle, or you can only hear the gunfire. It's like you can't see that there's a beautiful basket of flowers sitting next to you. You can't see that it's calm and safe in the house. You can only see as if it's actually happening then, because that wet, mucusy energy gets triggered, triggers your nervous system, and completely hones back in on that 22-year-old age. It's going to take some time to get that calmed down so you can remember, okay, I'm 70 years old now. I have 70 years of wisdom. That I have more wisdom and maturity than I had at that 22-year-old age. So, like I said, I call it like that jellyfish. It can trigger the nervous system. Okay. Can this be healed? So, me personally, as a nurse, I believe it can be healed 100%. I have 100% faith that this can be healed. So, however, it takes diligence and consistency and may take years to turn around. All right. But it's worth it. It's worth the investment of time. The sooner you begin to resolve the event, the easier it is to shift it out of the nervous system. The longer you wait, or the longer it takes for you to find help, the longer it can take to resolve. So remember when I said the hill came down, I was traumatized by that event. It took me about 8 months to turn around that trigger of hearing a rumbling truck. So, but if I had not dealt with that, it could have taken me years. Now, it was my choice to not go back down and visit the house that had been impacted by the landslide. It was like I could feel that fear. Now, I will tell you, I have since been there, and I will tell you that I have spent the night there several times. And I will tell you that in the room where it happened, I can try to sleep in that room, but I still struggle to sleep in that room. So I need to use all my tools, my grounding and reminding myself that I'm safe. So I'm just saying that you want to have tools to help you to work with when it comes up, so that you can diffuse the triggers. So, okay, so what's the number one thing if you find your PTSD gets triggered and your nervous system is now on high alert and cortisol is coursing through your veins? The very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to remind yourself of what's today's date. Okay, so today's date is this. It's not 40 years ago. Today's date is this. I am this age. Those two things are ultimately the most important thing that you can do. Now, let's say that you have a partner, husband, wife that has PTSD or a child, and they get these eyes, like almost like they can see right through you. So remember, like the soldier in Vietnam, they can see right through you, and all they can see is jungle and danger. You're going to have to say very gently, what is your name? What is your name? What's today's date? How old are you? Or you may say it for them as a way to get them back again. And again, I have observed this happen several times. I remember once one of my students got PTSD, got really triggered, and they went to go hide in the corner behind the couch. And so I just moved the couch out and I moved back there with them, which they allowed me to do. And they allowed me to kind of hold them and hug them as I was just gently reminding, you're in a safe place. This is today's date. This is your age, until they could finally come back to the room where they were. So it is kind of like this, it is a disassociative process to come back to. So energy healing, to get energy healing to Reiki or healing touch or what was Barbara Brennan's school? I can't remember. That's really a great program as well. But any energy healing that can pull that wet, old, mucusy emotion out of your energy field. It's actually one of my favorites too. I go to a healer and I just say, can you just pull any inflammation out of my body, pull any damp mucus, any kind of burdened emotions, pull that out of my field, and I just feel lighter and brighter. I did a healing recently on someone going through a traumatic situation, and it was just, they got a good 10 days to 2 weeks out of it, where it was just like, wow, I didn't know I could feel good again. But then it starts to build up. So it's going to take repeated healings. Now, there's this other thing, I call it the little chakra shifting secret. When you get triggered by trauma, you will drop down to the root chakra. You'll drop down to your survival chakra. It's like you're going to drop down to the ground and you're crawling to safety, right? But this is an energetic response. You drop down into the root and you're looking around, where can I go to feel safe? Just like the student that I had that crawled behind the couch. It's like you're looking for safety. But to try to you want to try to move the elevator to the top, come up to the pineal, where you're not stuck down in those lower physical chakras, and then very much be able to calm that root chakra down. So when I've worked with, I had the benefit of working with a group of people who have PTSD from the war. And I just had them bring up that earth energy very gently in that root chakra, because earth energy is such a great detoxer of trauma or toxins, any kind of toxins in the body, physically, emotionally, mental toxins. So bringing up that earth energy slowly, bathing that highly triggered root chakra into a state of calmness. I remember, and then I had them bring in the earth energy and the cosmic energy. And I remember one of the men said, once they connected with their spirit again, it was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I just met my best friend. And their best friend was their own spirit. And so giving them that gift of being able to connect with their spirit, connect with their age, when that gets, those electrical systems are on high alert. So, of course, in my Psychic Mastery 1 program, I have a whole year of techniques that I teach, everything that I've just told you about. Also, de-energizing memories, taking the charge out of some of those old trauma-triggering memories is one of the techniques that we teach. Learning how to dissolve symbols that represent huge patterns, maybe triggered patterns in the human energy field. So this is why I say, between therapy, energy healing, meditation, of course, getting out in nature, like all of those things, learning some little tips and tricks to help get you out of that triggered state, and then be able to move regularly into supportive ways of preventative triggering in the future, without isolating and without, not even moving, being frozen, but to be able to be active and thriving again. So again, the book is The Drama of the Gifted Child by Alice Miller. Again, I highly recommend it. And also, I do recommend my Psychic Mastery 1 program. Now, I only open it once or twice a year, so you can go to my website, intuitivemind.org, and you can just click on Psychic Mastery 1, and you can put your name on the waiting list, and then you'll be notified the next time it's open. But, even though I have found miracles worked with the techniques that are taught in my program, it is not the be-all, end-all. So, meaning that allow your intuition to guide you to different ways of working with yourself. Acupuncture, massage therapy, body stretching of connective tissue, like There's all kinds of ways. And of course, eating healthy, meditating, and drinking lots of fluids. We are living in a time just from COVID, so many people are still dealing with unresolved trauma during that time on Earth. But I do believe that that we can resolve it. So anyway, I hope that this information helped you to understand what's going on in your energy field a little bit more than maybe you knew before. And present time, present age, don't forget. All right, take care, everyone. I'll see you on the next Intuitive Insights. All right.